Hey, how's it going everyone? It's Griffin here, and in today's video we're going to be looking over the HP2 exhaust by the brand Dominator, fitted here on my 2021 Triumph Street Triple R. So I've had this exhaust on the bike now for around 2 years, so a couple thousand kilometers have been driven on the bike utilizing this exhaust, so I have a better idea of what some of the pros and the cons are for this exhaust system, which was at a steal of a price relative to most other exhaust systems for motorcycles such as this one. So in today's video, we're going to be looking over the specs, the cost, the fitment, as well as my thoughts, pros and cons for the Dominator exhaust. Let's do it. All right, so like I said, this exhaust is from a company called Dominator that's actually based out of Poland. Now, before actually doing research for an exhaust system, once I decided that I wanted to upgrade from the stock one, I had never heard of this company, and truth be told, I didn't really feel like spending $1,200 on an exhaust from other brands that are more well known, such as say Akrapovic or Yoshi. Those are some of the companies that had exhaust systems fitted for this bike that sounded great, but they were $1,000, $1,200. So doing some more research, I found this exhaust here on eBay actually, which is also probably one of the reasons why this brand Dominator isn't necessarily as known or respected in the motorcycle industry and culture. Let's be honest here, a lot of people are going to base their opinions on the price alone. But after doing a bit more research, looking at their website, reviews online, which there weren't many by the way, I decided to just give this exhaust a shot and see what it was about. So it ended up costing $336 US after shipping, after tax, all in. And this was once again 2 years ago. I went back when making this video to look and see if it was the same price. It went up to around $350 on eBay as well. We can see the listing that I'll probably put up on screen. So yeah, it took around 2 weeks to get here from Poland. Once again, pretty seamless. I didn't have any issues whatsoever. And now again, after around 2 years of riding around with this exhaust, I have to say that I'm pretty happy with it. There are a couple cons. We'll look over pros and cons later, but let's now take a look at the specs of this exhaust. All right, so on their website, it says that this exhaust system weighs 2.3 kilograms, and that includes the main exhaust, the DB killer, the bracket, the install bracket essentially, as well as the extra pipe that comes with it to fit it onto the exhaust. So not necessarily all too heavy. It's quite light, definitely a lot lighter than the stock exhaust system, which actually, let me grab it right here. Yeah, okay, here it is. I just went and picked it up. It is so much heavier. This thing's got to weigh at least 25 pounds, I would say. I'll take a look at the specs online, but it weighs at least 25 pounds. Also, it's massive, and it doesn't really look too great from the side anyways, and didn't sound all too great in my opinion either. So it was a no-brainer to switch it out. So taking a look at the exhaust though, here's what it looks like from the side. Personally, I think it looks relatively sleek, maybe not as good as some of the other more expensive exhaust systems that are available, but hey, I mean, for basically, what was it, around 450 Canadian dollars, 330 USD at the time, I think it's definitely a decently good looking exhaust system. The materials are pretty good quality. It's made out of stainless steel. It has this big rubber bracket essentially that wraps around the exhaust system and then goes and clips up right in here onto the frame of the bike. And then other than that, it has this decal on the side of it that we cannot see. We'll talk about why that is later. And then this carbon tip. Now, I'm assuming this is fake carbon. It definitely probably isn't real carbon, but actually it looks really good. It kind of feels like carbon. So it might actually be carbon. The whole rest of it though is built really well, especially for $300 and some. I wasn't expecting this from an eBay exhaust system. Usually eBay, you're expecting something quite a bit crappier, but coming from Poland, their website looked good, and it's all made in Poland for multiple different bikes and motorcycle manufacturers. So that's why I decided to give it a shot, and it's pretty decent. That being said though, the actual fitment of this exhaust onto the bike was an absolute nightmare. Now, going back and looking at the listing itself though, it says that it's for the Triumph Street Triple, yes, the 765 model, but for model years 2016 to 2019. And like I said earlier, mine is a 2021. So I can't necessarily fault them on the fitment being horrible and not really working whatsoever if it's not for the right model year, but it took a ton of finessing. So right down here, this extra pipe here was an absolute disaster to fit. It just would not fit on the side of the bike without rubbing up on the tire and rubbing up on this section right here. So when you look at the photos online, you can see that it's actually twisted like this. So it is an oval shape, but I've had to completely switch the positioning of it to be upwards so that it can fit on the bike rather than being on the side as it's, I'm assuming, supposed to be, and therefore we don't see the decal on the exhaust either. But you know, at the end of the day, not really a big deal. It did take though around, I want to say 3-4 hours to fit this onto the bike. And I had to get my dad to come and help me, and it still took around 3 to 4 hours. So with that said though, let's take a look now at the pros and the cons of the Dominator H2R HPR system for the Triumph Street Triple R 2021 version here. So first and foremost, for the pros, we've got the price here, relatively unbeatable, and I think it's a good sort of balance point between, you know, a crappier exhaust that you're gonna find on Amazon that's, you know, $100, where the build quality is not great, it might not sound great, and might actually even hurt performance, or though paying top dollar $1,200 for an exhaust system from a reputable brand. I think here in the sort of $350 US range, it's a nice happy medium, and as you're going to hear later, I personally think it sounds great. It has a really nice tone as well as a nice sound. The shipment was really quick, I had no issues whatsoever with that. The materials are also really good, at least to the touch. They seem like really high quality materials, which isn't really to be expected for an exhaust system that is considered to be so cheap. And no, I haven't dynoed this bike before and after putting on the exhaust, but just for weight savings alone, it definitely increases, not necessarily increases the power, but it definitely felt a bit, you know, more powerful and quicker, considering it shaved off probably the equivalent of 25 pounds worth of stock exhaust system. Now for the cons though of this, it can be extremely loud when you're riding, especially for longer trips. Like, it is extremely loud, especially in the right ear when you're going up anything above 7,000 RPM. If you don't have, you know, ear protection or whatnot, it is insanely loud, which might be something that you do or don't want. I mean, at the end of the day, the Triumph Street Triple isn't a bike that's made necessarily to do long distances. It's made to zip around the city, at least that's what I use it for. So, you know, an hour or two ride, you're gonna be fine, but it is definitely very loud. Other than that, it was extremely tough to install. That may or may not be just because it's not the right model year, but that was definitely a con on my bike. And it's not necessarily the nicest looking exhaust either. I don't think it looks bad. I think it actually looks pretty good, but compared to some of the other exhaust systems, it might not look as good. But ultimately, that is just your personal opinion. Okay, so let's fire it up on a cold start, rev it a little bit, and then I'll also add some POV shots and some drive-by so you can hear what this exhaust sounds like. Let's do it.